It's the most strongly supported question. So it's similar to must be true, but we have a little bit of wiggle room. The correct answer doesn't have to be 100% justified by the stimulus. It could be more like 95% justified.
It's a hard one.
It is a hard one, yeah.
The answer, the answer really comes from what's said in the first sentence, but there's all this other stuff there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's filler. Well, there's filler, and I think the filler is there to make the other choices more tempting. And for most supported, you don't really know where they're going to draw from. They could draw from anywhere, beginning and middle, doesn't really matter. And so I'd be looking to see which of these choices, as I would just scan through them, which of them is supported best by the stimulus. And I'll just scan through the choices going from A. Main cause. A says the main cause. Far too strong. Economic incentives encourage rudeness, but are they the main cause of malpractice? They could be one factor, but there's never anything specifically suggesting they're the main reason. B, again, on the economic incentives, because they're looking at what the final sentence first here. Do the economic incentives encourage doctors to regard medicine as a science rather than an art? They tell us economic incentives encourage rudeness, but the science rather than art is just something they now regard. We don't know why. So B is out for that reason as well. Looking at C, malpractice suits are unjustified for the most part. That comes from line 2, patients' perceptions of negligence or carelessness, but they could be correct. We don't know. It's open-ended. Perceptions could be valid. We don't have really a way to say one way or the other. Looking at D, D's far too extreme. Scientific outlook in medicine overall should be replaced entirely. Maybe this suggests the scientific approach over the artistic approach is not so great, but to replace it altogether, to throw out science, is far too extreme. And then E by elimination. Doctors foster the perception they don't care about their patients, and that's from their actions specifically. I see that coming from sentences 2 and 3. They regard science rather than art, less compassionate, they act rude as a result. And so that leads to this perception in the first sentence, that they're acting negligently or carelessly. And that line is not directly drawn in the stimulus necessarily, but it is a reasonable enough assumption. I think that the standard you want to have for most supported is what would be reasonable to assume walking away from this that's strongly implied by the stimulus, even if it's not guaranteed 100%. Any questions on this one?
It's a tough one. I put B.
You put B?
When I did it the first time. This time I got it.
Yeah.
B was something.
B is tempting, yeah. I think it's something that we might assume in a real world sense. That seems fairly reasonable if you've ever been to the doctor and they want to rush you out after 2 minutes. But I think that as a science rather than art is a general statement that isn't really tied into the economic incentives specifically in the stimulus, although with additional information we could make that argument.